This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist CJ Cartledge.
Volume up here. There we go. Good morning, everyone. I'm First Alert Meteorologist CJ Cartledge here, back on the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown for today, which is Tuesday, June 17th. I hope you guys have had a great morning so far. We did not see much going on, but just outside of the Ark-La-Tex, we did see a couple of things that made headlines across the country. I believe meteorologist Evan Thomason was telling me all about this before the podcast today. We did see 100 or more than 100 mile per hour wind gusts just outside of Wichita, Kansas, as severe storms rolled through those areas this morning. And we also saw the fifth named storm become a tropical storm pretty much out in the eastern Pacific. It's expected to make landfall within the next couple of days as well. We're actually going to be talking a little bit about that tropical storm today, mixed in with the local forecast. And as you saw by the headline potentially before you joined this stream, Alaska saw their first ever heat advisory be issued earlier this month. And we're actually a couple of days ago, and earlier this month, they were finally granted, the National Weather Service in one of the stations in Alaska were actually granted access to issue these heat advisories for them because of the hot and humid conditions, or at least the hot conditions that are expected up there through the past couple of days and through today as well. So we're all going to be talking about that throughout this episode today. But today, right now, let's actually start with the picture outside right now across the Ark-La-Tex. This is pretty much what's going on around the region here, but through this sky camera. This is overlooking Texarkana and Bowie County, Texas. On the Texas side of Texarkana, of course, through our Window World sky camera, we are seeing partly cloudy skies across the Ark-La-Tex, or at least across the Texarkana area and through most of the Ark-La-Tex as well. Actually, let's get a live look outside right now across the Ark-La-Tex here. We're not seeing many things go on here around the Ark-La-Tex, but just storms just off to our west outside of the region, prompting some flash flood warnings over by Monroe and the east side of I-20. East of us here in Shreveport and Bossier in the Ark-La-Tex, but everywhere else is pretty much quiet across the region. We're expecting a mostly quiet day around the region as well here. It may be a couple of storms may enter in from the extreme northern portions of the region, and there may be a couple of storms down here to the far south and east near Natchitoches, but that's pretty much going to be it. Most of the area should remain dry, and that will present us with some dangerous heat and humidity as we move towards the afternoon for today. Now let's take a quick look at those forecast headlines. Highs are expected to increase through the week. Starting today, we will see highs in the 90s across the entire Ark-La-Tex region. We're not expecting some areas to maybe hit the lower 80 or upper 80s out there. We're expecting everywhere to hit that 90-degree mark or reach higher than that. Some areas even the mid-90s for this afternoon. Isolated showers are possible throughout the rest of this week due to the high heat and humidity that's in place as of right now across the Ark-La-Tex and most of the southern United States. And the tropics here, at least in the Atlantic, are still quiet, a little bit too quiet for our liking here. But there are some reasons for why that the tropics are quiet as of right now. Evan may have talked about them yesterday when he discussed the tropics, but it's mainly due to the stronger wind shear, which is the change of wind direction with height, which inhibits the development for tropical storms, as well as the Saharan dust, which is coming over from Africa in big amounts here. That also inhibits the development of tropical storms. But here's our afternoon planner for today. Most of the areas should see partly cloudy skies across the region, with highs reaching into the mid-90s, at least for here in Shreveport. We could hit the mid-90s as well. Other areas are expecting the low to mid-90s, but more urbanized areas like Texarkana, maybe Natchitoches may even hit that mid-90 degree mark or mid-90 degree range, 94 to 95 degrees Here's our highs for today, actually, which is not moving on to tomorrow just yet. We're going to move into today. As you can see, we're expecting the low to mid 90s. 95 for Texarkana, 94 near Shreveport and Bossier. 91s for areas to the far south and east, mainly because that's where the isolated showers may be during the daytime hours today, or at least through the afternoon. And it may trickle over into some parts of East Texas as well, near San Augustine Center and Nacogdoches County as well. 92 for Marshall, 90 for Idabel, and 91 also for Mount Pleasant along I-30, and 91 as well for areas near the Queen in southwestern Arkansas. Texarkana looks to be at around 95 degrees, if I did not mention that before. But here's our feels like temperatures. Well in the triple digits across most of the Ark-La-Tex. Definitely some dangerous heat and humidity on the way for us, and we could see feels like temperatures even higher than these numbers on the screen, mainly because dependent on how much sunshine we will receive, which is going to be a good amount. And if we receive rain, that of course that feels like temperatures are going to drop, as the humidity will be pretty much washed away due to the showers here. But the chances don't look to be likely across most of the Ark-La-Tex, mainly for areas down to the far south and eastern corner of the region, and once again the extreme northern portions of the area with these severe storms that are rolling by. They may get a stray rain shower or two as well through the day today. And as we move towards the feels like temperatures for the rest of the week, well, they may stay in the same range, or they may increase here. As we move towards Friday and Saturday, they are expected to increase as of yesterday's update, but with the latest update, it doesn't seem to be so. I'm still expecting them to reach possibly that triple-digit mark in terms of feels like temperatures, not actual temperatures just yet. We're not at that part of the season. We're still in the late parts of the spring season, getting into early summer as we move into next week, but actually, by the time we hit this weekend, we will officially be in the summer season. But we will see some high feels like temperatures in the upper 90s, if not the lower triple digits out there. Maybe not seeing much heat advisory type of conditions just yet. But we could definitely see some high heat and humidity out there. So make sure to stay hydrated, limit your time outdoors, and once again, stay hydrated. It's going to be a lot of sunshine on the way. Wear sunscreen. That was the third thing I wanted to say to you guys. But here's a look at future track. Not much is really expected to go on through the day today. As you can see here, actually, I'm going to move myself off the screen so you can see the possible showers down where my face was. As you can see, down to the far south and eastern corner of the region, we could see a stray rain shower or two down in the southern portions of Natchitoches Parish and Wynn Parish as well. But as we move through the rest of the daytime hours into our evening, everything should pretty much dissipate. We'll be under mostly clear conditions through the night before more cloud cover enters in from the north and west, heading into Wednesday. This is our Wednesday at around 10 a.m. Not too much really going on, mostly clear conditions to start off our Wednesday. But as we move through the daytime hours, isolated showers are still possible in some portions around the region. And as we hit the late evening hours of our Wednesday, we could see rain showers from the severe storms off to our north and west, just scrape by our northern portions of the region and slowly move through our southwestern Arkansas zones and move across the east side of I-20 there, heading into the early morning hours of our Thursday. So that is definitely something to watch out for, especially considering there is a severe risk for our Wednesday night into Thursday, which I will show in just a second here. Heading into Thursday, we could still see a couple of isolated showers just lingering around, even after that front of storms looks to be moving through. And as we move into Thursday afternoon, we could still see, or maybe Thursday night, as it just jumped on me there. Thursday afternoon into Thursday night, we could still see a couple of scattered showers and storms still lingering around the region. And heading into Friday, we could still see more storms, even heading into the afternoon hours with southerly flow bringing in that humidity and possibly bringing about a few more storms for the area here. So let's take a quick look at that severe risk. We could see some severe weather or severe storms as we move into Wednesday night into Thursday. It doesn't show that by the headline, but Wednesday night into Thursday seems to be the time frame for when these storms look to enter into our northern portions of the region and mainly move south and eastward across our north and eastern portions of the Ark-La-Tex, possibly ending its run down into areas between I-20 and I-49. But there's only a marginal risk for severe weather for areas around I-30 and northward. Slight risk for the very northern for a very northernmost portions of the region, northernmost portions of McCurtain County there in Oklahoma. But that slight risk is mainly encompassing areas that are in Oklahoma and Missouri as of right now, or Arkansas. That's what the next state over to Oklahoma is. But as you can see, with rain chances for the next 5 days, we are expected to still see slight rain chances even heading into our Friday, but not so much heading into the weekend. Maybe a 10% chance by Sunday, but not much is really expected across the region here for the weekend. But here is a quick look at the tropics right now. Nothing much is really going on. Just giving you guys a point of view from what we're seeing in the Pacific Ocean right now, or Eastern Pacific, with a tropical storm that has just formed earlier this morning. It's now sitting at 45-mile-per-hour sustained winds and a pressure of 1003, which is 1003, of course. And it's looking to move west-northwestward at around 9 miles per hour. So it may make landfall within the next couple of days with its trajectory as of right now. But as you can see over in the Atlantic, maybe a few storms, but there isn't much really going on at all, actually. There is a Bermuda high over here, which is pretty much high pressure, which is why you see absolutely nothing going on in this range right here. But there's nothing really much going on in the main development zone over here either in the eastern portions of the Atlantic Ocean. It's mainly because of the Saharan dust and the strong wind shear that's in place right now, and as well as the it's a near normal type of temperature. Sea surface temperatures are definitely important for the development of these storms here, which I will actually give you a sneak peek of that if I can find it. There we go. Sea surface temperatures are in well above that criteria of 80 degrees or higher. But as you move over to the eastern Atlantic here, you see some of those brighter colors. This is the main development zone of where hurricanes and tropical storms develop, and we are seeing cooler conditions over there. So that is pretty much what the reason is for why we're having a slow start to the season as of right now. But let's move on to the 7-day forecast here. We can expect rain chances to remain through the rest of the work week here, even if it's slight here. Maybe a little bit of a higher rain chance heading into Thursday. We're expecting the low to mid 90s across the region. We could see the upper 90s heading into our weekend coming up, with not much rain on the way for us here as we move into Friday and Saturday, and even on our Sunday. Heading into the next work week, we could see a isolated shower or two once again by the time we hit the weekend. Lows are expected to remain in the 70s, so we're getting in that summer type of pattern here with slight rain chances. Not too much rain, but there will be some slight rain chances for the Ark-La-Tex and hot and humid conditions out there. So we talked about the hot and humid conditions right here in the Ark-La-Tex. We're going to talk about a little bit more coming up after the break. We're also going to be talking about the hot conditions that are going on in Alaska right now with their first ever issued heat advisory. Just a couple of days ago. I'm going to go on to a little bit of some facts for you guys about what's going on up there and what they can expect through the next couple of days here. So make sure to tune in after this quick break. Good morning, everyone, and welcome back. Now, we're going to be talking about Alaska's first ever heat advisory, which comes as a surprise to me and many people around the country and around the world. For those that are tuned into this type of information here, they're actually still under a heat advisory as we speak here, mainly because of temperatures rising 10 to 15 degrees above their average for this time of year, which is mainly in the 70s for areas like Fairbanks and the middle sections of Alaska here. But the reason why their criteria is so low for the heat advisories to be issued, temperatures are mainly in the 80s right now, and they're being issued for this heat advisory because they're not used to these temperatures. Of course, it's Alaska. We usually associate Alaska with colder temperatures and pretty much snow all the time. Of course, they don't receive snow all the time, but their conditions are prime for snow and cold conditions out there. So they don't have many buildings, and their buildings are not suitable for these prolonged hot conditions pretty much. And that's why their criteria is so low, with some of their regions getting issuance of a heat advisory at only 75 degrees. That's for the southern portions of the state of Alaska here. But as of June 2nd, the National Weather Service offices here in Fairbanks as well as Juneau were granted access or granted permission to issue heat advisories because of the danger that the heat brings to those buildings that are not suitable for those type of conditions here. They're used to 50-degree temperatures and even lower than that throughout the year. Maybe some areas could get up to the 70s, but it doesn't look to be much more than that here, of course. But temperatures are expected to rise into the mid and upper 80s, as they have done for the past couple of days in some portions of Alaska, which is why they went with their first ever issued heat advisory. They first issued it on June 12th, and it went into effect this past Sunday, June 15th, and it was in effect from Sunday, yesterday, which was Monday, and they also have one in effect for some areas around the midsections of Alaska for today as well, going into this evening. Now, the criteria for the middle portions of Alaska here, around interior Alaska is what they call it, is around 85 degrees for a heat advisory. And for the areas down to the south and east, it looks to be at around 80 degrees, mainly because it's not much of a landlocked area. Landlocked areas get a little bit warmer as compared to coastal areas. Those that are, I guess, not in a peninsula. But for areas in the northern portions of Alaska, their criteria is a little bit lower than that because of how high they are in latitude on the earth here. They're much more northward than the southern portions, of course. But so their criteria is 75 degrees for a heat advisory, which I believe is one of the lowest criteria around the country of America, or the United States of America, for an issuance of a heat advisory. Just imagine a heat advisory be issued for 75 degrees here in Shreveport or around the Ark-La-Tex. It would pretty much not be needed because that's comfortable for us, but it's not so comfortable for areas up there, especially for the buildings and things of that nature. But here's a look at the heat advisories across the state of Alaska here, just giving a zoomed out view. There are also a couple of red flag warnings and flood watches in effect. The yellows denote the flood watches. The red flag warnings, I believe, denote the dry conditions that are out there, possibly bringing the possibilities for potential fires that may go on out there. But the orange range there that you see near Fairbanks, those are the heat advisories that remain in effect until 7 p.m. Alaska Daylight Time on Tuesday. So until 7 p.m. Alaska time, that is when the heat advisory will disappear here. So let's just click on this one here. That just shows I want to see if we can look at some criteria for this here. As you can see, the heat advisory remains in effect until 7 p.m. Alaska Daylight Time, where hot temperatures of 85 to 88 degrees are expected in that area that I just clicked there, or the county that I just clicked there. It includes central, eastern interior Alaska, including Tanana, Fairbanks, Fort Yukon, and Eagle, Alaska. Individuals not accustomed to these unusually hot temperatures for this region may experience heat-related illnesses like heat stroke or things of that nature, or a cold sweat or things of that nature. Young children and pets should never be left unattended in vehicles under any circumstances, as vehicle interiors can reach extreme temperatures in as little as 10 minutes, and that's very true. That is definitely the case for us here in the Ark-La-Tex as well. Take extra precautions when working in the sun. Wear sunscreen. Try to limit strenuous activities. Basically, the same things that they tell us here down in the Ark-La-Tex and other places that that may experience high temperatures out there. And take action when you see symptoms of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Close curtains during the daytime to reduce sun insulation into the home, and open windows at night to allow the home to cool off. And utilize fans or community buildings with air conditioning. Now, another thing I wanted to mention was that Alaska, for most of their buildings out there, they are used to their buildings pretty much holding heat in because of how cold it is outside. But now they have to try to release the heat now, which is unusual for them. So that's pretty much another reason why they went with this heat advisory, especially for areas like Fairbanks and other areas within interior Alaska here. And let's look at a couple other counties to see if their temperatures may be different. Their forecast high in Pleasant Valley is 85 degrees. What I just clicked on before, their forecast high was 89 degrees for today. So they may hit the 90-degree mark, which is still isn't a record high, I believe, for them, which is pretty insane. Other areas, like I'm gonna click on Fairbanks. I believe that's Fairbanks right there. Extended forecast for Westgate. Their forecast highs in the mid and upper 80s as well. 87 for today. Um, and they may even go into another one tomorrow because of their forecasted highs in the 80s once again, mid and upper 80s. Their forecast high is 85, which is that criteria there, but we'll have to wait and see if that heat advisory gets extended into tomorrow. Let's look at over here, see if any okay, so their high is around 81 degrees, and they're still under that heat advisory for today. But they're also expecting some scattered showers and thunderstorms, so that may cool them off for sure if they receive any of these scattered thunderstorms and showers out there. But yeah, that's pretty much what's going on over in Alaska as of right now. It's just I want to compare this to how we are here in the Ark-La-Tex. Of course, we're much warmer than that, but I just want to give a comparison to how we are in terms of our heat advisory criteria real fast here. So I'm gonna switch the screen here. As you saw before, the heat advisory criteria, or as I've told before, the heat advisory criteria is 85 or higher. And as we look at towards ours heat advisories and excessive heat warnings, which is another level of even more dangerous heat and humidity, our criteria is 105, so nearly 20 degrees higher than their highest criteria over in interior Alaska. Maximum heat index is expected to be 105 or higher for at least 3 hours. That's our heat advisory criteria. And for the excessive heat warning, which we got a good amount of through the past couple of summers here in the Ark-La-Tex, the maximum heat index is expected to reach 110 or higher. These are feels like temperatures, by the way, not actual temperatures. This is maximum heat index is expected to reach 110 degrees or higher for 3 or more hours within the 12 hours. So within the afternoon hours, if the heat index is reached 110 or forecast to reach 110 or higher than that, then the National Weather Service may go about issuing an excessive heat warning. And what that means for heat advisory, if the forecasted feels like temperatures are expected to be 105 or higher for at least 3 hours during the afternoon or peak heating hours, as we may call them, then they may go about issuing a heat advisory out there. So that is definitely some interesting thing to look at. It just to put in perspective, our buildings and our people, residents, are more accustomed to the heat and humidity, especially except for those who have just moved down here. I know I wasn't used to all that heat and humidity, but for people that live here, people that are used to those conditions out there, their heat advisory is a little bit higher as compared to everywhere northward of us, or maybe even east of us. And some conditions are a little bit different, maybe a tad bit cooler in some spots, maybe a tad bit warmer in others. So I know portions of East Texas, their heat advisory criteria is a little bit higher. I know in the southwestern United States, near Arizona and New Mexico and things like that, their heat advisory or excessive heat warning criteria may be just a little bit higher than that. But this is what our heat advisory criteria is looking like as of right now here. So that is pretty interesting. I'm glad I shared that information with you all here. I'm going to wrap up the show here actually right now. So if you guys have any topics that you want us to discuss here on the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown, make sure to send us an email at weatherbreakdown@ksla.com or message us on Facebook at KSLA First Alert Weather Team. We will check those responses and see if you guys want us to talk about anything. If you do, if we see them and we like the idea, you will see it here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Make sure to continue to join us weekdays at 10:30 a.m. Once again, thank you guys for tuning in to the KSLA First Alert Weather Breakdown for today. I am meteorologist CJ Cartledge, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday. Make sure to stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and watch out for those isolated showers. We may not see much today, but we could see some more on Wednesday and more likely as we move into Thursday. Not so much for Friday, though. That's a sneak peek into your forecast for my opinions on what's expected to happen. But thank you once again for watching today, and make sure to have a great rest of your day. I'll see you on the next episode.